good evening, and welcome to Wargaming After Dark.
So we are on episode 8 now, guys. This is the last episode of season 1 because we are about to make it out of the quagmire that has been 2020.
You're not supposed to talk about it in the middle of Snowmageddon, because this is, if you ever saw that terrible Krampus movie, this is the snowstorm that happens in that fucking Krampus movie.
That is true. I'm just remembering that. I actually didn't think it was that bad.
No, it's hilarious.
Oh, yes, that's what I mean. I love that it was a comedy and had hard, dark corners.
Everybody dies. Have you seen Krampus?
I haven't seen that Krampus movie yet. I used to be accused of being Krampus at a former job.
We'll take care of you.
It was actually surprisingly good for how just awful it was.
I still haven't seen any of The Mandalorian, Brian. You want Krampus to jump the line?
All right, now you're pissing off our followers.
This is the way, Ricky.
Brian is giving you
You're
the
just
finger.
a colt.
Alright, so, we're in the middle of Snowmageddon. We're attempting to stay on topic, but we had to stay warm before we could even start recording today. So, we should be better than we were on episode 7, but I'm not making any promises.
Yeah, right now I'm using my beer as an ice pack, so...
Yeah, well... Whiskey's better.
Sean decided to shovel off his roof before podcasting, and while podcasting is not a physically strenuous activity...
It is mentally draining.
41 inches to 44, depending on who you're asking. Moving that the last 3 days is rough.
And
Did
now
you notice my
everyone in the
fortress?
Northeast knows where we are.
Yeah, we're...
It's the only time this town has been in the news in the past 10 years.
Other than motors.
That's true. We were in the... For a long time, we were in the news for something that happened a while ago.
Yeah, but anyways, so...
Topics.
Before we even get into topics, hey Ricky, did you get any painting done or any hobby games in?
Did I get... since the last time we were on, yes, I did get a game in. I got some Song of Ice and Fire, which we've been kicking on lately. I did not get any painting done, unfortunately. Had some family stuff happen. It's been rough, and for me that involves a 2-hour drive and usually spending a day or two down there. So I wasn't able to get a lot done. I did get Scorpions for my Night's Watch, as well as the Heroes Pack.
I love that everybody else is getting their Song of Ice and Fire stuff, and I don't have it yet.
Hey, it's the same. I got 1 unit.
You pre-ordered.
No, I did. I'm talking about the other two
Oh.
units I bought.
Oh.
Was it other 2? I can't remember.
I don't remember
I've
either.
lost track of what I ordered.
See, Sean's like, I've got 1 unit. But, see, what the rest of you don't know is that Sean is like Scrooge McDuck over here, like just swimming through all of his Free Folk units. He's literally got
he's
everything.
bought 2 core sets.
No. I did, but I didn't. I've explained this to you. The
Yeah,
other
too.
person did not want to take the trip to Jupiter to buy it for Christmas a gift. So I bought it for said person.
Yeah, I
So I
don't need
don't
more.
have that unit yet. Or
I
box yet.
I don't need more giants. I swear, this is for a friend.
I don't need 4 giants and 2 mammoths.
Alright, so you were busy, Ricky. But you did get some gaming in.
I did.
How'd your games go?
Okay, so I'm going to say this. I'm normally not a fan at all of free-for-all games. This is to say games with more than 2 players. Because they usually devolve in almost every circumstance. I don't know if you guys would agree with
One
that.
side gangs up on the other.
Yeah, it ends up as any free-for-all you attempt to play ends up as a 2v1.
Or a camper.
Or someone will just stay out of it and, once you're exhausted. But that's usually how... If it's clear and obvious someone's camping, then it becomes a 2v1. Because if you were just camping on your side of the board and say, let's Sean and I had 1,500 points on a 40k table, and we had shot each other down to 800 points, we're going to look at each other, realize you're not participating, and then come after you with 1,600 points of our combined army that we have left.
100%.
Yep.
That's a real problem. I actually developed back in 8th edition a whole scenario in which it was just a 2v1, but it was a 2v1 that shifted, and it was faction-based.
Oh, I remember that.
It
That was pretty cool.
Yeah, like with, Eldar went through a webway gate, and then because Eldar are fickle, for those who play 40k, Eldar are fickle, and they might want both sides to destroy each other, so occasionally they will help both sides in a conflict. And like there was another one with Tyranids where the monsters would just go dormant and not attack you, and you could snap fire at the monsters. It was based on their Come the Apocalypse enemy system. At any rate, it generally doesn't work. However, yesterday I played my first game of A Song on Ice and Fire, and I will say that it was
Your first game? Second game?
first free-for-all game
Oh, okay.
of A Song on Ice and Fire, and it's a combination of the individual unit activations and the fact that you are super vulnerable on your flanks. Like if you turn your flank to someone, you have to really trust them in a game that's based on Game of Thrones. Trust no one. So a free-for-all is likely to stay a free-for-all. You're very likely to it's like, no, I'm just going to split my forces. Some are going to face this way, some are going to why? Because I can't trust that guy on my flank. Because if he gets into my flank, he's going to eat my entire line.
You were playing with a Lannister cockhole anyways.
Yes. Our favorite Lannister cockhole. You know who you are.
What about you, sir?
I can't even tell you what I said I was going to do. But...
You yelled at me. That's what happened last time.
Really?
Yeah.
No. That was at the beginning. At the end is when you asked me what I was going to do.
I actually think I asked you, and Ricky's the only one that answered.
I could take the time to go back and listen to my edit, but I got 2 games in, one of Armada, my first game ever, and then got a game in with another one of our listeners of their first game with the full Song of Ice and Fire. So I got 2 games in there, and then
I got to watch that Song of Ice and Fire game. It was a good game.
And then I also primed all the models I owned for Song of Ice and Fire, and then, of course, the week after I primed them, I got the next unit in. But if you guys are paying attention, I'm saving that unit for the video I talked about in episode 7.
Cool.
Other than that, I don't think I did anything other than that. I painted a bit of Grievous while I was editing the podcast because it was actually pretty smooth last week. And if you disagree with us, you can let me know. I know one of our listeners already did.
It's great to have feedback in the house.
Yeah.
I was going to start on Legion, and I did. I got the recipe down for my clones. But then I kind of ground to a halt as far as Legion was because I couldn't get into my garage for 3 days. And I wanted to prime, but I couldn't. So
I finished my Legion army 6 weeks ago.
I offered to play a game with you, but we just couldn't get things lined up.
Yeah. Plus,
it's just been sitting there.
Plus, the one day that we usually have time to play is when this big snowstorm hit.
Yeah,
right?
much is true.
Was that the day after? Or day? Okay.
Yeah, it was
so I was
Thursday.
Right.
We were kicking around the idea of a Thursday, and so that washed out. And then we thought, well, what about next Thursday? It's super inconvenient that.
Yeah, Christmas Eve is on a Thursday this year.
Yeah, as it turns out, there was a significant birth, and all of a sudden we can't play next Thursday.
I will say
We'll play next Sunday though. At least I can.
That's true.
I will say the end of last episode, we all said we were going to go out and buy a new unit for Song of Ice and Fire.
I did.
Me too.
So what is that unit? What did everyone order that next Monday?
I ordered another unit of Stag Knights. I ordered 2 units of Rose Knights.
Okay, overachiever.
I ordered a Baratheon Attachments Heroes 2 and Baratheon Attachments.
I ordered a unit of Thens.
I already said, but I got the Scorpions and the Heroes.
I forgot we made that promise. I just ordered.
Yeah, it's one of the things I do remember from the last episode.
Yeah, and I can tell you that I now, after playing again yesterday, I actually have another shopping list.
The nice thing about this game is that even if all the money that I've spent, it's still less than what I've spent for any other game, including Armada.
I have an Apocalypse box that's full of nothing but intercessors.
Yep.
I spent more on that than I probably will on the entirety of my Song of Ice and Fire army.
Unless you buy another starter set, which is not a bad thing to do for you.
I have something for you, Ricky. For the holidays, it's going to be a free gift. Only because I don't need 2 casters from the starter box. And you can use caster in the Night Watch as an NCU.
It took me a moment to figure that out. That was it's like, Caster, what the hell?
I thought he meant like Warcaster from fucking Wormhorde.
So did I.
No.
So did I.
And
No,
we
sorry.
both know enough about that terrible game to be like, yeah.
I thought it was just...
Warcaster isn't even Wormhordes.
But Warcasters.
Oh,
Thing
yes. Okay.
Thought
Now
it
I
was
got
just
you.
Saul trying to set another hook for another game.
Oh, I wouldn't even set a hook.
I've
I'm
already got an
so
army.
over trying to sell those damn models that I don't use, and no one wants them. I've cut them down to like 75% off, and no one wants to buy them.
It's a bad game. It's a bad game.
No, it's the game itself is not bad. The company, the way they run the game, is bad.
Fine, I'll give you that.
Yeah.
Like-
I know one listener that could come on and school us in his knowledge of it, but
My problem is when I play a war game, I don't mind doing a little bit of math. I don't like doing a lot of math.
it's
a lot of
chess. It is
It's
chess.
total chess. It's just strenuous on my brain. It doesn't work.
Like our one listener literally he had broke down. He told me and he showed me it. He had a version of percentages, like of broken down if it's worth certain attacks and stuff. And like at what point is it worth to spend extra dice? Because he was very competitive in playing, and I was like,
Is this the man that likes the ocean?
Huh?
He lived under the sea.
sure. Lost now, but okay.
Your neighbor.
Oh yes. Which is very interested in playing Legion and Armada.
Definitely. We'll definitely have a... Is he able to come out?
Hmm?
Is he able to come out?
Yeah, I would assume so.
I don't know
I'm
what
assuming.
his COVID...
Oh,
You know who you are if you're able to escape your home.
he
Please leave a comment.
yes.
Send up a green flare!
We
Click 2
play
rocks
on
together,
occasion.
Sean
We
will
play
hear
on
it.
occasion, but the way holidays are,
Oh, yeah.
we're planning on playing a game after the holidays.
Oh, yeah.
That's the only thing.
Well, do you know what he'd like for Legion?
Yes, Empire. So I might be picking up Rebels because of that.
We'll talk about that.
Okay, we'll talk off. We said we were going to wait to talk about topics, and we've completely surpassed that.
Well-
so one of the topics we're going to save for the end. It's going to be special, and maybe it will help you get into a new game for the next year.
As special as we are.
I mean, we're pretty special.
Oh,
I've got a piece
extra
of paper.
special over here. There's a box of crayons in this house, and I'll find them.
You can't eat Susie's crayons.
I think
That sounded like
I think
a
she
challenge.
likes me enough that it would be okay.
No, see, like, she doesn't have, like, fucking Rose Art or Crayola.
Oh, then I don't want them.
Yeah,
Crayola. I want dirt cheap.
She's got, like, artist crayons.
No,
Yeah,
that's
she'll-
not. No,
She'll
I'm
kill
alright.
you.
Sean
Like
wants the
the-
hot
if
pocket
it's-
of crayons.
If it's more
Exactly.
expensive than the MRE, I don't need it.
There's no Hot Pockets allowed in this house.
That's fair. Hot Pockets are literally just cooked, burn your tongue.
Do you remember coming into the store the one day with my second degree Hot Pocket burns down my entire wrist?
No.
You were like, why are you bandaged?
Oh, yes. Okay.
Hey,
Hot
why are you
Pockets are
bandaged?
death.
Because I saw the pepperoni hot pocket and I was hungry.
I
It's a
do.
trap.
It was a
Yeah,
trap.
and then it's literally like, the outside's still cold, but inside is a magma river.
I literally had second degree burns, cheese burns from my wrist to my elbow. It was ridiculous, and the only thing I could cover it with was like 10 feet of gauze because
Any other topics, or are we just
So,
gonna...
I will dig into some detail. I will dig into some detail into my game, and then we will dig into Sean's Armada game, I think.
Yep.
My thoughts.
And I can talk about also the Song of Ice and Fire game.
I'm going to sit here and give snide comments and drink whiskey.
That sounds great.
He's probably going to
Solid
take
episode.
every opportunity to bitch about Baratheons as well.
I
played...
Probably.
The game I played was a free-for-all match. It was a Feast of Crows, which was appropriate because I was playing Night's Watch. It was against a friend of ours, a listener, who
Two
played
listeners.
Starks, and another friend who was playing a Lannister Cockhole. He was playing the Lannister Cockholes.
Oh, so he played with a bunch of pyromancers?
Yeah, pretty much.
He had a, all right, so in his defense, right? All right, so it was a free-for-all game. I started on, basically we
Wait,
started.
are you telling me you're going to defend him right now?
Well, here's why I'm going to defend him for bringing
You could-
pyromancers. Because
Doing
we
that, you
killed,
could anger a lot of our listeners.
we fucking murdered those those pyromancers. I think he got to throw 3 of the grenades. Like, we fucking murdered them.
That is what happens in the group in one of our group chats when you just tell us everything about your list.
Well,
We're going to target stuff.
He had one pyromancer, and in his defense, in our Lannister player's defense, he has probably the most painted army in our local meta.
And it's gorgeous.
Yes, he's done. You know who you are. You're doing an amazing job on your Lannisters.
We've got a bottle of whiskey specifically for you as
Yes.
a Lannister Cockhole.
It's gonna make it onto the Instagram probably.
Probably.
We'll see about that. Maybe put the throne next to it, which I have seen in person for the first time.
So, the throne, we have an iron throne that we're going to pass around and do stupid shit with. Pay attention to our Instagram.
Yes. Fuck, rabbit hole. No, pull up.
No.
No. So, yeah, the pyromancers just got
We're all
murdered.
mad here.
The Stark player
We are.
double moved some cavalry to charge them. Ended up losing the cavalry. Losing the cavalry at a huge points loss, too, because the cavalry took a bunch of panic tests in a Feast of Crows. Every time someone fails, or not a panic test, sorry, a morale test. In a Feast of Crows, every time you fail a morale test, you put a marker on them, and that unit becomes worth 1 more victory point.
Yes. And I think that's where Lannister, like, that mission is great for Lannisters, and
Renly Baratheons.
does Renly do panic as well?
When Rose Knights take a morale check, a panic morale check, and they pass, they deal a wound. Just automatic wound.
Is it whenever any unit becomes that extra point, or when they fail?
No, when they fail a morale
Okay,
check,
they fail,
Yeah,
okay.
they have to fail.
Right, but there was a way to make more panic checks in a Feast for Crows, right?
Yeah, well, you can. There are a bunch of mechanics to make it.
Yeah, and then there's also the House Bolton stuff are good at making panic.
Yeah. But the thing is, though, that might actually be a detriment, though, because if your Rose Knights, say anything that keeps healing itself, you can heal yourself back up to full. And this is what actually happened with the Stark players' cavalry. You fail your morale test, you get a marker. Normally, if you keep getting attacked, you're eventually going to die. But if you keep healing yourself,
You can keep making checks.
you keep making checks, and every time you fail one, you get another marker, and you get another marker.
Right.
So you can have a unit, actually my Jon Snow unit at the end of the game, because Jon Snow also has some healing mechanics.
The Rose Knights heal, but when they pass the morale checks, they deal just an auto wound to the unit they're fighting.
Yeah, that sounds a little bit like cheating, Ryan or Brian. I don't
Yeah.
know. I think Baratheon... Sean, I think Baratheon's pretty awesome, don't you?
So, Baratheon's pretty good as long as you don't buy the starter set.
No, you need to buy the starter set, but you need to buy more stuff. I'm not going to say don't buy a starter.
Everything
because-
that's on back order.
Yeah.
Everything that makes them good is... Well, that's basically a rule of thumb.
If you look
with
at it,
miniature gaming,
Targaryens are the same way,
Oh,
because their starter box comes with a cav unit that you don't really need.
unsullied pikes.
Out of stock.
I know, but they're amazing.
That's why they're out of stock.
The
that's how this works.
unsullied blade masters are pretty good too.
I'm actually
And
looking,
fucking Durgans.
since I know one of our friends, maybe the Lannister Cockhole,
Yeah,
is
it's also going to be a Targaryen
Yeah.
dick whistle.
that
That doesn't rhyme as well as cockhole.
no.
I'll work on that one.
Okay, good. I don't know. I've been looking at Greyjoys. I know you're picking them up.
See, I don't care what you play.
Exactly. I don't want to. I know we don't have any Bolton players.
Aren't
but
Boltons mostly mercenary?
They're all neutral.
They're
Boltons-
neutral,
So you
but they
could play
do have
Boltons
specific.
just as a full neutral force.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I heard it addressed on another podcast, and I really agree with them that neutral should be considered its own faction, with the amount that they have between the Boltons, the Stormcrows.
Honestly, I think Bolton should be their own.
Yeah, and the Mummers.
Boltons would make sense. Boltons, I think, make more sense than the Bear Island people, who are
'Cause-
probably going to be a faction. I think Boltons
Well,
make more
they were
sense.
such a big deal in the show. I can't see the Bear Island people not being their own faction.
Were they a deal in the books, Brian? For those of us who haven't...
No, but they didn't show up in the show until after the show had progressed beyond the books.
That's true. Well, actually, no, because when Jon Snow gets stabbed is where the books end, correct?
Literally, he hits the ground and the book is over.
Okay,
Yeah.
so then you did have the slaver guy.
Yeah, well, Jorah and the Night's Watch, but
Yeah, but
the
the
kid.
actual house itself, the little
Yeah.
girl, didn't exist.
nope, not yet.
Yeah, I'm
I actually don't even know what she does, other than it's important. Don't tell me.
still trying to wait for Dorne.
Oh, Dorne is gonna be so good.
I can just see some like
They're gonna be like Targaryen or Dothraki, I bet.
I think they're going to be I agree. I think they're going to
be
be
fast, but not as tricky as Starks.
but I'm
Like, if they're just
wondering
going to be fast outright, like
And,
movement
and
8 or something
outnumbered.
like that.
They're gonna be low points.
I also wonder if they're going to have camels instead of horses.
Did
I
they
don't-
have camels in the show?
In the show, it's horses. I don't know if the books ever talked about Dorne.
They talk about Dorne horses. They're in Dorne.
Okay.
Myrcella, the one Lannister daughter, is there, and there's the whole plot. The Sand Snakes have a much smaller plot in the book thus far than they did in the show.
Okay, so then camels really don't make sense. I thought it would be cool for their aesthetic, but
I think they're going to be like light armored, like your guys.
yes.
And
I think they're going to be light armor, but high attack volume,
movement.
glass
Yep.
cannon
movement,
Yep.
and then I think they're actually going to have what comes in the starter box for Starks, the split Lancers. I don't think they're going to be like Blackfish Horsemen. I think they're going to be more like the cav unit that's in the starter box.
Also, the one bodyguard is for the King of Dorne, whatever
Yep.
his rank is like some weird axe wielding monk, and I bet you there'll be a unit of them.
Yes. Is it an axe wielding or a halberd?
It's
'Cause
something.
In the show, it's like a glaive halberd
Yeah,
kind of
it's
thing.
it's
No.
basically his
Yeah.
wife. They don't really tell you what it. If they tell you what it looks like in the book, I don't remember. I remember they talk about him tending to it all the fucking time.
It's
Yes.
a spear covered in manticore venom in the show.
No, that's Oberyn.
Yeah, that's the
The
guy.
brother, sorry.
Yeah, it's the brother.
Yeah, no, this is a different. This is a bodyguard character.
Yeah, Dorne is the one army I'm waiting for. That's why I probably won't pick
Dorne
up a
will-
second one.
Dorne will be super cool. I'm excited for Dorne. I think Greyjoys. So I've read their rules. Greyjoys sound really, really good, but they don't sound broken, which makes me pretty happy.
No, they sound very. I'm trying to think of another army that's very. I think it's actually probably most like just straight Bolton.
Or
Very like
it's gonna
technique oriented about how you do things.
it's gonna depend on which one of their commanders you choose.
Yeah.
Because each of their commanders is different enough and it runs the board in a different way that you're gonna see a lot of flexibility and. I think you're going to see a lot of flexibility in Greyjoy
I think they're closer to a scalpel.
Yep.
Than a
than a blunt hammer.
where
Which is funny because that's what Baratheons are, even though they all have hammers.
everything that I thought from Free Folk,
I don't know. You're pretty solid
Is not-
on the line, though.
it feels like a scalpel, but it's not for Free Folk.
You are, but Baratheon brings, for your base units, a lot of mediocrity to the table. Like, if you break them down, they're not bad. They're not really that good either. It's when you dip into the tactics deck and you dip into their special abilities and their special units is when they start to shine. So you look at them and you're like, oh, this is just all 3-up saves, and I'm just going to march my blocks up, and da-da. And it's not. It's not at all. To quote Sean, and to make our one Magic listener happy, it's like playing a blue deck.
Yeah. It's like playing Blue Deck.
That's no way to go through life.
I'm excited. I mean, I don't regret. No regrets.
All right, so that's not what I meant, but you basically just said you were excited for a blue deck. No one has ever been excited for a blue
I
deck.
loved my blue deck when I was in high school and didn't
I didn't mind
understand
blue
Magic.
decks. I just like splashing other colors in.
I loved my counterspell deck.
Oh, so you're just a horrible person.
Oh yeah, it was
Okay.
bad. But I was also like 16 in high school and didn't really understand how to play Magic.
Was it like a full counter, or
Oh,
were
yeah.
you playing with Storm?
Nope, Storm didn't
Okay.
exist.
In high
Storm
school,
was old.
Brian used to put baby powder on his face to make himself look paler than he was, and he is really, really pale by default.
That is not true. It
So-
wasn't baby powder. I paid for expensive foundation.
Starks. We talked
I
about
also wore a
Lannister.
top hat. I was fucking cool.
How was playing against Starks? Because when I played, he didn't have a lot of extra units.
He still doesn't have any bonus units.
Not like a lot of really weird extra stuff. Okay,
I thought
so
he got
he had
the
two
extra
units of-
half.
he had 2 units of cav, the light and the heavy. He had. He really likes the.
He did have the Tully Cav?
Uh,
They're the heavy Cav.
yeah, he had a. Well, there are 3 calves for Stark, right?
No, 2.
2.
Two.
Okay, so he had a skirmisher cab and a heavy cab, and he had a ton of the Umber Berserkers.
Yeah, he really
2
likes those.
2 units of the Umber Berserkers. Yeah, well, they're just Death Company.
Yeah, pretty
it's
much.
Literally,
Pretty much.
you know who you are.
That's right, Ryan.
Yes, first names are okay. So in that case, Ryan was playing Starks, and Stefan was playing Lannister Cockles.
Well, Stefan is the Lannister cockle. Ryan we've picked on before, so.
Yeah.
No, you can't buy my love.
But he had Umber. But he had 2 units of Umber Berserkers and then 1 unit of Stark Sworn Swords, which I think had more to do with being the points cap than actually wanting Stark Sworn Swords. Because
They're not bad, though.
they're not bad, they're not good. They're sort of like your Wardens.
No,
They're
my
base
wardens
unit.
are really good when you put a good commander in them.
They're your base unit.
They're
Yeah,
like-
It's not bad. It's just low point.
Yeah, they were super.
They're better than Sentinels.
Better than a single unit of Raiders.
Shut up!
But they were they weren't terribly significant. They didn't against the Starks. I'll say this: it was. I don't believe the Starks had a real chance to shine in the free for all battle.
I don't think Feast for Crows is a good scenario for them.
Also, they had a few problems with my Scorpions. Scorpions are terrifying in their own way. They're not as good. Really, if you want to build to success with Night's Watch, I think the route is either builder crossbowmen or stone throwers. But the Scorpions are kind of like a less dickish middle ground between those two.
What's the range that they can shoot?
Scorpions are long range.
Yeah, see that's the issue. Is most things that are shooting are all short range.
Well, the stone throwers are unlimited range, so that's what makes the Scorpions the less dickish option. Stone throwers are like,
God, I
you're
hate
on the
his
table,
faction.
I hit you.
Yeah, I do too.
D6
Two
plus
of them.
1 for each rank.
I really wanted to play Night's Watch, and because everybody else was interested, I was like, Baratheon are good enough. You know?
You should have still went for it.
So I don't
We could
think,
have 3.
but long term, I
might
don't think.
still pick up Night's Watch.
'Cause it's
the
that
thing is,
cheap.
if you bring Night's Watch with stone throwers, though, you're just kind of an asshole, in my opinion. Like,
Oh, I actually want to run like Veterans of the Watch and Sworn Brothers and go infantry heavy.
yeah, infantry heavy is definitely not a dickish thing to do. The Scorpions aren't dickish. Like I said, because if you if you want to take war engines of any kind or builder crossbowmen, you have to take. I'm going to butcher his name. It's like Yorick Allsoft, first builder. But you have to take him if you want access to those units. That's just how that works. And of all of his options, the Scorpion is the least dickish. Because if you're against infantry, the builder crossbowmen are better. And if you're against single units or... Well, actually, almost anything, because unlimited range is busted in that game. The stone throwers.
Light Cav could be a big problem for the Stone Throwers. I could see if somebody really wanted to play up the light Cav.
But I can't... the thing is, the stone throwers aren't expensive enough to prohibit your infantry line.
Right, which is fine. But if you do like the Stark thing with Blackfish, where they can just outflank wherever the fuck they want.
Yeah, theoretically, because... so there is an Achilles heel to the artillery pieces, for those who are unaware. If you touch them, you've got them.
Yep.
You need to touch them. But if you don't, and if there's, there are plenty of positioning things you could do, because you could just be an asshole. You really could. You could park in your deployment zone. If you had 3 stone throwers in your list, you could park in your deployment zone and literally just go, unit gone this turn, unit gone next turn, unit gone next turn, and just there'd be nothing that your opponent
This is
could do.
why you can't get a hold of stone throwers.
Which is for the best, honestly, because Night's Watch, it's not like, well, they're anemic without stone throwers. No,
I'm glad
they
they're a
have
3-up.
Huh?
I'm glad they're a 3-up, not 2-up.
They're a 3-up. However, because you can only take them with the first builder, his commander trait is
Oh, that's
Spotter,
gross. Yeah, I saw that.
which
Okay.
gives you a reroll.
I didn't know there was a stipulation. I didn't read through that far. Oh,
So you're basically gonna
3-up rerolling. You're gonna hit almost every time except for that one out of, and I'm gonna really piss off Brian's mathematics friend, but that one in a 1,000, some dumb number that I can't do the math in my head of you rolling a 2 twice or a 1 and a 2 on that reroll.
yeah. There's a lot, and like I said, it's not like the Night's Watch are by any means anemic without the stone throwers. They have really good options for just about everything. Actually, my current list that I've reworked since I played that game makes use of the Watch veterans, which kind of suck when you compare them to the Sworn Brothers in a lot of ways. But I'm kind of hoping I cleared that up.
Which are
Updates-
better, the Sworn Swords or Brothers?
The Sworn
Or-
Brothers are the greatsword guys,
They're amazing.
and they are slightly worse of a save. They're slightly less of a they have worse defense, but their offense is
They come
miles
with
higher.
critical and sunder.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, by default.
Base, just on the unit. And
Yeah.
they're 6 points a model.
7.
7 points a 7 points a stand.
7
Yeah.
points to stand, yeah.
Okay.
And the Sworn or the Veterans of the Watch are 8, but they only get counterattack.
Which is still good.
It's still good, and their save is a little bit better. They're theoretically defensive. I'm going to see if I can maybe get a little more out of them in my new setup. But they don't. So anyway, that was the Starks. It wasn't
Rough?
wasn't too rough on me. The Lannisters got the worst half of the Umber Berserkers. And but the Lannisters,
So, when I fought the Umbra Berserkers, they
killed
both
a
hit
giant.
a giant. And they did end up killing a giant. I don't know if they underperformed because of, a giant. And also, I was playing NCU heavy, so I could, heal and mess around and attack twice.
I think you have about the best army for running NCU heavy, just because you have such cheap stuff on the board.
Yes and no. Our best 2 NCUs that are normally being played are 4 points each.
And how much is Mance?
4.
He is 4? Okay.
And Styre is 4.
Mance
Well-
is fucking off.
And you normally take 3 NCUs, so you're going to take
I thought
10
4 was
points.
default. I thought
No.
four-
There's a bunch that are 3 and 2.
It's usually like 2 and up.
Yeah.
You won't find 1 for 1.
Most
you
of the good ones are 4.
Yes.
all mine are 4.
Busted are usually
because your army is broken.
It's just the stone throwers.
Lies.
Here we go. Baratheon isn't good.
I didn't say that. I haven't said that
You
yet.
said it with your eyes.
You like looking in my eyes, baby.
I just looked at Brian's eyes, and he was literally like, "Baratheon are terrible."
Didn't say that. Baratheon are great.
Actually, I don't know if there is any at 2. I'd have to go through each army.
No, like some of my field guys are too, but
I think 3 is the standard.
at any rate, Lannister cockholes. So using first names only, Stefan brought a unit of pyromancer. That's what defines you as a Lannister cockhole. Just bring in those. As soon as you have one unit of pyromancers, you have cleared the bar. He had a unit of Lannister crossbowmen, which are dog murderers, and we'll get to that. He had the Mountain on Horseback, which is the promo Kickstarter. I forget how that came about. He has one of those. He had a unit of
Probably
Lannister
Ball.
pikes.
Halberdiers.
Halberdiers, yeah.
They're pretty good.
A unit of the sword and shield guys.
sworn Lannister's guardsmen.
Yeah.
Yep.
He didn't have any poor people.
And they're junk. They're worse sworn swords.
Yeah, and I think that was it. Stefan didn't have many bases to work with.
Well, because he took fucking pyromancers.
But yeah. So he first thing that happened was he sent out his Stefan sent out his pikes in front to confront Ryan's Umber Berserkers, charging nose to nose. The Umber Berserkers are normally very, very scary, sundering, and they always attack at their highest profile.
Yep.
So, and that's for them. That's 10 attacks.
Yep.
Because of their Berserker rule.
Yep.
Or they get normal units lose attacks. I believe they gain attacks as they lose ranks.
Yes. They're similar to one of Bryan's Baratheon units,
But not.
not
Because we gain abilities.
Yeah, Stag Knights always have 8 attacks at every rank, right?
7 attacks.
7 attacks at every rank.
Yeah.
Well, so they go and they clash pretty hard, and the Umber Berserkers they win a Pyrrhic victory against the pikemen, against the Lannister Halberdiers. Stefan proceeds to shoot Big John Umber dead with his crossbowmen. Ryan's cavalry, I believe, is light cavalry. I killed his heavy cavalry.
With a scorpion.
Jon Snow and a scorpion. It was bad.
Can I just stop you real quick? What terrain was on the table?
Okay, so we had 2 corpse piles to start out with. Feast of Crows, they pop up everywhere. Every time you kill an infantry unit, you get a corpse pile. Stefan dropped a corpse pile right in my face, so I dropped the tree right next to it to counter.
The weirwood?
Yeah, the weirwood tree. Just to balance it out.
Okay.
And on the other side, we had a palisade. So two corpse piles, a weirwood, and a palisade.
All right.
Was our total terrain. And yeah, so that was right. Ryan basically had control of the palisade, though it was more of a hindrance to him because his was mostly infantry blocks to deal with. He did have Grey Wind, so he had someone to send around the outside, but it didn't end well for Grey Wind because of the Lannister crossbowmen.
And for 3 people, did you guys play with the tactics board?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
So did everyone have more than 1 NCU?
Yes, they each had 2 and I had 1.
Okay.
Circe was ridiculously strong because her ability with the tactics board is -2 and take a panic test. So if she took the crown in this Feast of Crows thing, it was basically like dead. You know, at one point, Jon Snow's unit had to take a panic test at a -5. Yeah, absolutely brutal. And then Ryan tried to help him, betraying the North for a Lannister cockhole. He put a panic marker on Jon Snow and tried to destroy his unit with Circe's help.
How'd that go?
It didn't work out. I blocked his panic token and rolled fairly well.
I know they were all complaining about your tactics deck.
Huh?
They were all complaining about your tactics deck.
I swear, you cheat one time. Okay, so I'm relatively new to this game. I thought you get the tactics cards for everybody.
No, you just get it for your commander.
Yeah, so I had Jon Snow's tactics deck shuffled into my thing. I used it one time, not terribly significant.
So who was your commander?
The first builder.
Okay.
Because it has to be. If he's not your commander, you can't bring scorpions. At least that's what my app tells me.
Yeah.
Which is currently the leading authority on the game, I guess.
Yes, because the company itself runs it.
So Grey Wind circles around the palisade just in time to get killed by Lannister crossbowmen in a rather, awful parody of how he died in the show. He just cavalry moved up, and Stefan's crossbowmen just turned, fired, iced Grey Wind because there was basically nothing he could do. It was at that time that I realized, ooh, that's probably going to happen to Ghost as soon as the pyromancers die.
Mm-hmm.
Then he used a trick to make the pyromancers fall out of combat, and they killed a ghost.
You mean retreating?
No, his pyromancers had already activated.
Oh,
He used the Lannisters have a card, something deception, that you activate one unit, and then you just drop the token on them like they activated, and you can activate a unit that's previously activated again.
Got it.
And I think he did it with
The mountain had a bad day, and
Yes, he came in, and he started all the way on Stefan's flank in the far corner of the board. Basically, the only thing that could have engaged him directly was Grey Wind because of the way the palisade cut off the board edge. So, but he's cavalry, so he's fairly fast despite the fact that he's gigantic, right? So he starts crossing the board, and Umber Berserkers come in, crossbowmen kill, or pikemen engage Umber Berserkers, crossbowmen finish off Umber Berserkers. Then, because everyone hates pyromancers, Ryan sends his cavalry straight through, like books across literally rides them right in front of my entire line. But just the way the game was, I couldn't really get a good bite on them. And smashes them headlong into Stefan's pyromancers, who... Let's just say they don't take close combat well. Let's put it like that. I think he got to throw a total of 3 grenades from the pyromancers. And into Ryan's cavalry. Then the mountain hits them from the rear. And that was like his shining moment, because I think he killed 1 horse.
well, I mean, cavalry are hard to kill. They've all got 3 wounds.
Yeah, it's fairly tenacious. But, then I come in from the other side, also slam into Stefan's pyromancers, because fuck pyromancers.
Can't leave them do their thing.
Lannister cockles.
Yeah. And I whittle them down pretty well. Falls out of combat, kills ghosts with his stupid crossbowmen. Dog murderers.
Dog murderers.
Yeah, because they killed Grey Wind too. Monsters. Fucking monsters.
And I'm sure the cats just sat there and watched him do it.
Yeah. Sad. Cats are not trustworthy. Anyway.
What? When have my cats ever wronged you other than make you horribly allergic?
How many times have they jumped on the table?
3 times when you and me played. When Ricky and I played, I think once.
How many of your models have they broken?
1. Surprisingly, they broke when they knocked my entire army box full of Harlequins over. Only 1 broke, which was super surprising.
I thought you were going to kill a cat.
And how many models has Luna broken?
None.
Exactly.
How many
Man's
times
best friend.
Luna jumped on the table?
Luna's normally not allowed in the basement, so... And then
No, she hangs out with me.
She does, but then you were also playing with Luna continuously. Kicking
Sean,
the
sounds
ball
like
or
you're-
throwing the ball across the basement.
Sounds
You
like
told
you're
me I
making
was allowed.
excuses for your cat.
Yeah, you were.
Yeah.
But the point is you weren't picking up and playing with the cats, which would keep them entertained.
I was picking up the cats.
And put them on the ground off the table.
And off me?
And did they ruin any of your models?
No, because I threatened your cats. I sat them down and talked to them before we played.
Oh, well.
They listened, I think.
It was incredibly awkward to watch.
I mean, they didn't break any of my shit.
The giant baby wanted Ryan to pick him up the last time we were over there. And he had done it the time before, and which is just continuing the bad habit I have let him do is...
Jump up on the people?
Being held... No, just asking for it to be held and then being held on your shoulder like a baby.
Mm-hmm.
And now that's just the normal thing he does. We'll come up and just request to be picked up. Yeah. Oops. I created a monster.
That's okay. My
And he's just
15-pound
continuously
monster is
bigger.
downstairs.
Yes, that's true. Hates me.
So much.
So much. Huge dog person. Hates me.
I can't explain it.
Yeah, I don't know. Loves Ricky.
Yeah. What was it, like 3 weeks ago we were down there or something like that? Like you were directly behind me and he was fine. And as soon as you poked your head out, he was like,
And I've given him food just like you have too.
See, Ricky negotiated with him, though. There was a conversation. I watched it as he dropped single grains of rice off his chopsticks.
That's true. You can't lead with the full plate of food.
Yep.
You have to be like, you only get more if you're nice.
I will say my game against Starks though was largely different.
Yeah.
Because we weren't playing 3 people, but
He wasn't back in the swing of the game yet, either.
no, and that's fair because it was Ryan's first like big step into
Also,
cards and tactics deck all at the same time. And we played 40 points. We didn't play a 30, which is your rough starter box.
your army is also full of gotchas.
Yeah, it's if you want to play an army
gotchas,
that's
just two
trap
big
cards
sledgehammers.
from Yu-Gi-Oh. The deck is literally trap cards from Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah.
And my unit's back, and you attack me,
And my unit isn't worth any victory points. The only thing you can kill to get points is a giant.
That didn't help. Thens. It's all the specialty units aren't that.
Yeah, but at the time you
The
just had
3
giants
units out
and
of the
raiders.
box. 3 of the 5 units out of the box are insignificant.
Off topic. I saw something absolutely insane on my eBay front page the other day. I remember when Yu-Gi-Oh! First came out, they had a starter deck box. It was a Yugi versus Kaiba, 2 decks. Yugi versus Kaiba, a holographic Dark Magician, and a holographic Blue Eyes White Dragon.
Do you know how much?
One of those sealed was going for $13,000.
Do you know how many times
Blue
I
Eyes
have
White
gone?
is valuable.
Do you want to know how much times I've gone back and just like I wish I bought stuff and just held on to them because when we were younger, all this stuff was brand new before the big hype. So
The Lego sets that I used to own.
the AT-AT that's in pieces in my basement, in my box of Legos, that is worth hundreds of dollars if I would just pull it out, find all the parts from it, and put it in a separate box. People will still buy that today.
Ziploc bag. You'd still get like $100 out of it.
Oh yeah. Well, the kit was only worth 100, but yeah, I could probably get 150.
No, you could get like 100, 150 out of it.
Yeah.
The secondary Lego market is insane.
And the best part is I was one of those kids that put all
You could probably build fake versions of any of those kits just by buying. Yes, you could.
Only if you had the exact parts.
Well,
Because those people, they go through they get the instructions and they count out the parts, and if they're not the right generation or the right part, you're the dick.
but you can buy Legos.
By the part, yes.
Well, no, buy the you can buy a garbage can full of Legos on eBay.
But I was the kid that had every instruction I put aside in a metal tin. It's somewhere in my parents' house. I would have to find it, and I could probably find that AT-AT.
It was in the shed by the lawnmower. You're in trouble.
No, it's not.
The snowpocalypse may have done some damage.
So you had a good game. You didn't win, but you had fun.
I didn't put. Well, it came down to the mountain after attacking Ryan's.
Brian's.
The only thing would be worse if we had like an iron or something like that. I don't even know what.
I have a stepbrother named Ryan, and we never got confused. Lived in the same house.
Well, yeah, you're
Yeah,
talking to each other.
I had a sister that had a completely different name, but my dad still called us the opposite name or the dog's name. All
Yeah.
3 were switched.
Yeah, well, my dad would just like shotgun out names.
Yeah, it's just names until you hit the correct one.
No,
maybe still miss it and then come back to it.
He just yelled names, and the first one to show up was the dumb one that showed up.
That's the Marine Corps for you right there. I need 1. Oh, he volunteered. Oops.
I need a volunteer. I have no volunteers. I need some voluntold.
Privates. All right. So who actually won the 3-away game?
That would be
The Lannister cockhole.
Lannister cockhole, yes. And what it came down to was we basically, I had Scorpion and a unit of Sworn Brothers with Jon Snow left. Ryan had his Stark Sworn Swords left what was left of them. They weren't even a full unit. And Stefan had the mountain, just the mountain. And I had done 3 wounds to the mountain previously, but he got him back up to full health by dropping it on the money bag, restoring 3 wounds to a unit. It came down to 1 shot from my Scorpion. If I could have killed if I could have rolled it, I'd have to roll a 3 because the single shot from the Scorpion is D3 plus 1 damage. Mountain has 4 wounds. If I could have rolled a 3, I would have killed the mountain and won the game because Ryan and I each had 3 points. And had I killed the mountain, I would have gotten 4 points. For killing the mountain, you get an extra point. I would have been at 4 points, and Stefan would have been tabled, so he couldn't win the game. It was turn 6. And I fired and was only able to get 3 wounds through on him, unfortunately. And then I thought I had another way to win by making my guys take a panic test, because I have another card called now their watch is ended. And when one of your units dies, you can remove an activation token from another unit. So I was going to see if I could kill Jon Snow and then remove the activation token from the Scorpion and shoot again. But unfortunately, the panic test didn't work that way, and there was just no recourse left. We activated out. Ryan and I both ended up with 3 points. Stefan ended up with 9, mostly from killing that cavalry unit that went in against the Pyromancers. Mm-hmm. Because they failed a couple of panic tests, and I think that unit alone was worth 4 or 5 points when it eventually went down.
Nice. And you?
That's the issue if you keep healing a unit on that mission.
Although something interesting that did happen, I was able to play, even though I wasn't involved in that combat at all, because it just says enemy unit, I was able to play Take the Black to heal one of my own units.
Nice.
Stefan killed Ryan's unit, and I played Take the Black because a unit died near my guys.
That is pretty good. So my game, Free Folk versus Starks. Well, we're still on A Song of Ice and Fire. Honestly, it was pretty hairy for the Free Folk. They were dying left and right. But what it came down to is Bryan. Bryan, by accident, well, not an accident, reminded me of a rule that I was allowed to retreat.
Oh, right, yeah.
Which made it so I could retreat.
I mean, it's printed on the cards and in the rulebook.
Yeah, it's in the rulebook, but we were so involved in the game, I wasn't thinking about...
It's my house!
I wasn't thinking about it, and then a third-party spectator, which, once again, is kind of cheap to win that way, but was like...
I didn't realize it even helped them win.
I was kind of speaking out loud of like what I could do and trying to like count out victory points, because we were playing Game of Thrones, the first mission, and I was down points, and the only way I could win is if I could capture 2 objectives. I had one of them. I needed 1 more unit to get on them, but they were actively engaged with a unit of cavalry. So I'm trying to figure out how I can do this. Ryan had already activated units around it, so I was free basically to move. And instead, he was trying to get Grey Wind into combat instead of going back and holding an objective. So it gave me the ability to score more points. That's why I needed this unit to move. While I was thinking of what was going on, Brian's like, well, you could always retreat. And I was like, oh yeah, retreat is a thing you can do. So I was able to pull a unit of trappers that hadn't fully died and jump on an objective. Which is what, in the end of the game, is what won me the game. Because Ryan was playing very aggressive, trying to come across the board, and got his double unit of berserkers stuck on a single giant. So that was the Song of Ice and Fire. It's pretty straightforward. It was first time Ryan was playing with the tactics board and the decks, so the full game together. And then also, I was kind of playing down because the only way I can make it to 40 points at the moment is before I had my Thens. It was the starter box plus all heroes box. So I was only playing with the extra points from the starter game was just a bunch of heroes in it. So it wasn't super great. So I played 3 NCUs. And I played my most powerful ones because it was the only way I could get up there and stay decently on the table. But I think Ryan could have easily had me if he just stayed on objectives, played the mission instead of trying to.
Yeah, I
Go
feel
through the
like
game.
also he whiffed that one combat against the giant.
Mm-hmm.
If he had rolled just a hair bit better, that giant would have died, and then it would have been a different game.
Yeah, I think there was one point in it that I thought he should have taken a different. Because he was trying to heal a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I think he should have just left one unit to die. And, like, if he did a second attack instead of trying to heal a unit, would have been way better.
Yep, I agree.
But other than that, it was a great game.
It was really fun to watch. It's I get to watch a lot of games, or I used to get to watch a lot of games, and it was really good to watch you guys like experiencing your armies in a different way. Because you hadn't played against Starks, and it's
No.
a very different game playing against Starks. And Ryan had only played against Lannisters up until then, because he had only played against me with the Storage Demo Kit, and Lannisters are a different fish, especially against compared to Free Folk.
Yeah.
So he did.
Ryan was not happy because he kept killing all the insignificant units.
Yep.
Yeah, no points.
No points.
Yep.
And then he would get stuck on the giants.
But you gotta kill those units because they, if nothing else, they just block table space.
Yeah, that's all I was using them for. Chaff.
Yep.
Hold objectives,
They're a
chaff.
fucking pain in the ass.
They are. I didn't get to use, like, the Tactics X was not in my favor of that game.
No,
I
you
did
didn't
not
get any of
have-
your good stuff.
Any of my good stuff, I was not playing cards. Honestly, what was helping me was having Styre and Mance and
Yeah.
Lady Val as my NCUs.
Mance was nowhere near as painful in that game as he was on the game with you and me.
Yes.
Yeah,
Because all the token play, I couldn't keep tokens on the
Yep.
other person.
well, he was dying too fast.
Yeah. Well, any unit that I needed it there. So, Starks wasn't like you. Like, I could get you to fail panic tests.
Mhm.
I could not get him to fail a single panic test.
Yeah,
To
no.
make it when I was making him,
No, it was good.
giving him panic tokens and stuff.
It was a good game. I was pretty happy with it. All right, so
That night, I also had my first game of Armada.
right, we'll talk about that. Ricky's gonna go to sleep. It's okay.
Do you have anything more about Song of Ice and Fire before you switch topics?
Not really, no.
Alright. So,
Jump full tilt into Armada.
I know something about Armada that you don't.
what's that?
That I was going to tease you about, but I will tell you now because I am a kind and gracious friend.
Sure.
I happen to know that even though clear, game-genic standard sleeves were backordered, a certain friendly local game store has either received or will be receiving in the very short future 30 packs of clear sleeves.
I will buy them all tomorrow.
All of them. I already have special ordered the last ones that I need, so you can't touch mine.
I bought a starter plus the upgrade pack,
Yeah.
which has 290 cards. I need the sleeves, Brian.
Guess what? I did the same thing.
Yeah.
But you bought 2 starters.
Yeah, but the other I don't need.
Yep.
Uh,
True.
Like, I'll do the ship cards, but other than that,
Well,
I'm
it's good
gonna-
to have a second damage deck because there's been a bunch of games for X-Wing and Armada that I've gone to where the opponent was like, wait, I need a damage deck? And you're like, yeah, we both need a damage deck. And
Yeah.
being able to have a second one to just hand somebody was useful.
I'm going to use that stuff if my neighbor does get into the game. I'm going to be able to use that because I believe, isn't the damage deck in the first starter box, the Empire versus Rebels, isn't it smaller?
Yeah, it's the small cards. I don't know if it's the same, though. I don't know if they changed things.
I don't think they changed it. I think they just made it larger.
Yeah.
So I was going to ask him if he wants to trade to get a full size. Because I'll take the small one for the second deck.
Yeah, or I could give him my full-size one.
Yeah.
Because I have a small-size one.
Yeah.
If it was the same, I don't care what size one.
I will say, Armada has kind of captured me like A Song of Ice and Fire did.
Mhm.
I really enjoy it. The game went really well. I only won on a technicality because Ryan.
Didn't play the mission.
No, he played the mission. The
Okay.
issue was we marked, so we didn't have a mat.
Oh, okay.
So when we marked the table, he thought he had more distance for his acclimator, and it was literally the base was on the edge of the table. There was no turning to keep that thing in.
Oh, okay, and he
So
flew off.
he flew it off because we just. It's not that it wasn't marked well.
Do you
It's
need a 3x3 space map?
At some point, I'm gonna buy some like really cool looking galaxy stuff.
Because I might have an extra.
Okay. Well, I'll be interested.
Yeah,
I
I'll just give it to you. Because it's just like stars. It's just plain.
I want in the future like a whole nebula or something like that. Like
Yep.
cool background.
I mean, Ricky could play Armada. You would enjoy it.
I don't like fleet tactics.
But the mechanics are very good.
It's it's strategically active, and it makes you think.
It's alternating activations like every ship. It's
And you have to pre-plan all of your actions. So let's say I'm running my one of my Mon Calamari ships. Their command rating is 3. So when I start the game, I have to guess 3 turns ahead my tactics. And you set those first 3 turns at the start of the game. If you're looking for a chess match, that's a beautiful game.
yeah. I really enjoyed it.
Just content yourself with having Sean having joined your cult for now, alright?
I'm just saying. For as far as like what you want in a game, it's fucking there.
Oh yes, I love the movement widget for the ships.
Yep.
It makes the movement very smooth. It's very also dynamic.
Yep. It's
moving.
an incredibly dynamic game.
Yes. Which one thing I misunderstood, and that's for me looking up stuff. You can actually put the measurement stick on the table.
Yeah, you're
to
supposed
see.
to.
Well, as long as you don't click it in. The minute you put the widget next to your ship and on the base, you are not
you
allowed
mean
to change.
pre-measuring.
Pre-measuring.
Oh yeah, okay. I thought you meant you were trying to move your guys, and I'm like, no, you have to click it into the base.
So I was trying to do it in the air, looking above. Oh, does that work? And you can put it down next to the ship. As long as you do not put the prongs into the ship,
Yep.
you can still look. So I messed that up. So I was like, my ship movements were bad.
Well, and that's a difficult thing to get a hang of too.
Yeah.
Like understanding the different weapon types, understanding the different ship movements.
I should probably say what army I picked up.
He's a Doty droid user.
So I play Separatist and Legion, and for us to all have this nice large game of Armada into Legion on the table, I thought it would be cool to pick up Separatists as well. As much as I like the Empire and the Rebels.
Your battlecruiser is coming out next month.
Yes.
Yep. And I'm getting Venators.
I'm debating. So there's 2 ships from each faction, from not Rebels. Wow. Republic and
Imperial. Yep. CIS.
CIS.
See, I just did it too.
Yeah. It's because the one flows into the next. So we're getting the Venator.
It's a good game.
We're getting the
Say that
Venator.
about Sigmar, though, and I know it's not true.
Sigmars are a ton of fun.
It is. It's.
Would you like to look at my?
We're going to escape a single podcast without this.
Would you like to
You
look
brought
at
it up.
my
we
light
weren't going
elf
to talk
box?
about.
I've got an extra codex.
For what?
Sigmar.
Oh, Sigmar?
Light elves.
Yeah, there you go. Just look through it. You're going to like it.
You can just
know
borrow it. It's fine.
So,
Armada.
thank you, Ricky. Thank you for bringing us back on topic. Interesting that you're the one that did it.
And you brought us off topic.
I picked CIS, and after playing the first game, I decided, doing a little bit of research into it, because I didn't know if it was worth it, but I bought a second starter.
Yep.
Because one of our friends is buying some Infinity off me for about the same price.
Okay, cool.
We just didn't match it up the nights, so I couldn't just turn the money right around. But I'm picking up the second thing of CAS because the ships are awesome. I've got more droid squadrons than will ever need.
They pissed me off with the starter sets this time.
Why?
For the Republic, you have one more ace than you have fighter squadrons. It used to be you had enough fighter squadrons for all of your aces, or you flipped them over and they were generic. You have to make a choice for the Aether Sprites which Jedi you're going to run. And it's the choice between like Plo Koon, Ahsoka, and
I forget her name.
Numenera, whatever her name is.
Yeah.
And you tell which one's disc is sitting in my token box because it's not Ahsoka and it's not Plo Koon.
Well, I thought she was the better one, though.
She is better.
But Plo Koon is just awesome, and Ahsoka's awesome.
Plo Koon is the best Old Republic Jedi. The best Old Republic Jedi. Opinions?
You're once again proving you have no idea what you're talking about.
Didn't episode 3 they show him dying in a ship and he actually survived?
He's one of the ones that you don't know if he died or survived.
Yeah, no. He was confirmed to be alive.
Oh, then Plo Koon is confirmed to be alive, which is awesome.
He was the one who's flying the second gen fighter.
Yeah.
And he got shot down by 2 arcs.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yet another one who lived long enough to see his problem solved by a child.
I believe Vader ended up killing him, though.
That would make sense. He was
during Vader's hunt. And this is all like comic lore, though.
But the comic lore is so good. I have discovered on YouTube, moving away from Armada, that a lot of the comics people have just read and put onto YouTube, like a podcast.
That's what I found.
And I've been listening to them pretty consistently at work now because I'm, still fixing our website. And I just listened to the Thrawn one, and it lines up with Rebels so nicely.
Wait, Oh, I have those books if you want to read them.
Not the Thrawn War. The Thrawn got found.
Legend. Thrawn Legend. 3 books. 3 black books.
When when they find him on the planet, like when Thrawn first gets abducted.
No, sorry. No, something different.
No. I've read the Thrawn Wars novels. I own them. Or whatever they're called.
No, we're talking about 2 different things. I'll show you.
This is when he is starts off as a lieutenant in training with the Imperial Navy, and all the way up until he gets awarded the Chimera. But if you've watched Rebels, it sets up the governor going to jail and the Governor Price taking over. It explains why she's like this weird kung fu fighter. It's really good. The Thrawn thread was a little loose for me in Rebels. I didn't really get it, and this comic tied the show in together very, very well. I was very pleased.
So I have some comics I'll bring over the next time we record that you'll like. They're all Star Wars comics, if you like reading them.
I'll try, but I'm not good at reading comics. It's the whole dysgraphia thing.
Yeah.
It's got pictures you can look at.
That's the problem. Because it's hard for me to go across the page and follow the panels. See, I end up just...
That's where my dyslexia is better. I am better with comic books than real books.
I get lost in the comic.
Because I can put together what's going on in the text block by the picture. So I can... Even if I mess up words inside of the text box, I understand what's going on in the whole picture. Kind of thing.
I'm excited that you like Armada. It's a good game.
I really like it. I'm waiting for the next time I can get a game in because I have so many more things. I didn't understand when I walked in playing against Ryan that you do not have to have an upgrade for every upgrade in there.
No, my first game of Armada was probably not the best first game to do. I played with a guy that used to go to Paint and Dine, who was a really great guy, but didn't know Armada as well as he thought he knew the game because he had only ever played against his wife. But I played with him and he showed me the ropes, and we played a 700-point game.
For your first game?
Yeah, it was great.
We played 300.
The nice thing about it being, 700 points, was every ship I owned, I got to use. So I got to, specifically, this is what this does, this is what this does. And then his his wife had it for one Christmas. Apparently, just bought him all of the Armada that existed in the world. So he had everything, and he was able to be like, "Yeah, my guys have grit. That means they do this. My guys have rogue. That means they do this." And I was able to experience a lot of the special rules,
Yeah. Which
which then let me turn around and know what I needed to buy to build my fleet. Because what happened with Armada is we have a member of the community that has a habit of buying games and then getting tired of them or deciding he doesn't like them, and then he finds a willing victim, and he's like, "Oh, by the way, here's a game." And he did that with Armada to me. So I was like, well, yeah, I guess I have an Imperial and a Rebel fleet. Because all I did was buy a Profundity, and I was up to 600, 700 points.
I think I think the only thing that would have helped the game out is maybe if Ryan would have used his Imperial instead of trying to also understand all the new.
Ryan's Imperial is pretty good.
Yeah, but it's.
I know where it comes from.
He also would. Well, I also know where it came from, but I think he knows his Imperial better than the Republic because the Republic just came out where we were both playing with brand new factions, some brand new rules.
And the Acclimator does not fight like anything in the Imperial Navy. It's the closest I would say is like the Gladiator, which he doesn't own.
No, and my fighters are really good.
Oh yeah,
Droid fighters have better dice. They're super cheap.
The the Republic fighters are all bad.
No, they just have more wounds.
But if you look at them and you're like, I'm going to take some AOC 170s, and then you're like, but what am I going to actually use them for? All right, I'll take some V-Wing Torrents.
Mine, even the basic unit of basic Vulture droids can strip shields or hull. It was pretty impressive. I love.
All right.
I know, Ricky.
I know you're excited about Armada.
Ricky fell asleep. Ricky, wake up. What? Oh, okay, cool.
Let's move into what I'd like to talk about tonight before we close out. So this 2020 has been a weird fucking year.
It definitely has.
And gaming kind of suffered this year. That being said, I've been more active in gaming this year and experiencing new games and trying new things out. And I think the three of us have.
Sure. Yeah.
So I think we should list off some games and give our top suggestions for people that might be interested in. And the games that I want to list off are 40K 9th Edition, Age of Sigmar, Star Wars Armada, Star Wars Legion, Infinity, Song of Ice and Fire. Is that list okay?
How do you want to rank them? 1 through whatever, A through
I
F?
think we could have categories in there because those games don't necessarily fall into neat brackets.
All right, so let's do 2 lists.
How about we do each one of us...
How about we rate them on 2 categories? We'll rate them on just... This is something we probably could have worked out beforehand, but I'm thinking probably... Cause
price point, and then overall fun.
I think we could push them into barrier to entry.
Barrier to entry is better than price point.
Yes.
Because cost is definitely part of barrier to entry.
But also availability.
Yes.
Yeah, and then the other one would probably be nuance, because I think those games move on a sweeping spectrum pretty close there.
And these are going to be our 2020, suggestions.
And you guys want to do a 1 to 10 scale, 1 to 5 scale?
1 to 10.
1 to 10. All right.
All right. Ready?
First game.
First game, Star Wars Armada. The look of abject horror on Ricky's face.
I can't make cricket noises with my hand. Trying.
Let's do this because we're going to...
We need to get a soundboard.
Brian and I can bust this out of the park pretty quick.
I give it a 4 and a 4 for playability and a 3 for availability.
You mean barrier entry?
Barrier to entry.
So wait, do that one more time.
4 for playability.
Yep.
3 for barrier to entry.
Okay. So I'm gonna break this up into two things. Barrier to entry for the older version of the game, Rebels and Empire. I'm gonna say barrier to entry is lower. So let's say 3. I'm not gonna go dramatically, and then playability. For those is gonna be the base number. I think it's 5.
Okay.
And then The only one that I think is different is the new generation's Clone Wars.
Mm-hmm.
Barrier to entry is, I think it's closer to 5.
Okay.
Because it's a full starter.
And 5 is good.
Yeah, 5 is good. Because it's a full starter for your $90 instead of the original starter that had 2 different factions, so you had to buy a lot more
Also,
to get into it.
if you're going to play Star Wars Armada, they're selling the upgrade card pack. Fucking buy it.
It's a must-buy for anyone. First, get your toe in, buy your ships that you want, like 1 to 2 ships, but then you're getting the upgrade pack.
So the upgrade pack is like the upgrade pack for Legion.
Yeah.
Except it's 100 times better.
Yeah.
It's multiple copies of every upgrade in the game, not just some.
So multiple ships can have the same upgrades.
And it includes all the ships, too.
Yeah,
It's
all the ship name
everything.
upgrades.
They just redid everything and put it in a box.
And they all standardize the size of cards.
Yeah, so it's all the standard American size rather than the...
Yeah.
All right,
Ricky's got no answer for this one.
second
I know that
game,
I'm speaking for him. Second game.
9th edition.
9th edition. Okay, so I'll lead in on this one. I'm going to say, in terms of barrier to entry, while it's lower than probably every other edition of 40K rather than 8th edition, I'm still going to say it's probably only the best I can give it. All right, we'll give 8th edition a 3, which is a really low rating for barrier to entry, and we're going to give 9th edition a 2.
I agree. For barrier to entry, 2 on 9th edition.
2 out of 10.
Now, let's talk about 9th edition for a moment.
Uh,
so, I'm
do you
going
wanna
to
hear
be
mine?
In terms of,
really...
well, I didn't even finish giving mine yet. That was,
Well, I'm just going to say, I'm going to be harsh on 9th edition. And that
Same.
might not be fair.
Barrier to entry 1.
yeah, that might be true.
I'll explain.
The issue that all of my things for 9th edition is going to be super jaded simply because I really haven't been able to play. And I have no interest in playing right now. If tournaments start back up, that switch might flip. So,
Yes.
my opinions, as harsh as I sound right now, might not be accurate.
However, I got to give it back in terms of barrier to entry. Like I said, I'm giving it a 2. But in terms of the nuance of the play that the game offers, in terms of it, and I'm going to say this effectively offers, there's very few gray areas in 9th edition. They cleaned a lot of that up. They offered a lot of in-depth and a lot of nuance. I would probably have to give it an 8 out of 10 in terms of once you're in there, once you've cleared this mountain high hurdle.
But we're doing a scale of 5.
I said 10, and you guys are like, yeah, 10.
Yeah, it is 10.
Oh,
You just said 10. Jesus Christ, Brian! It's on recording.
That's why I said I was also going to be very harsh when I said a barrier entry is 1.
Yeah, give these really low numbers. So yeah, I'd say it's either an 8 or a 9 out of 10. And I've played a lot more games than Brian has, but as FAQs roll in, I think that this could be the one that it's really good.
so
They've cleaned up all the gray areas of 8th, and they did it without a million FAQs.
Okay, so barrier entry, if you don't mind, right?
Sean?
yeah, go ahead.
Why I said 1 is I can break it down to 2. You have specific rules to the game. Then you have army rules to the game. And then you have opponents' rules to the game. Right? There's 3
Yeah.
levels that you normally should know.
Yeah, that all change.
That all
They're
change
all varied.
continuously. FAQs come out usually a month after your book released.
Unless
And-
you're a Space Wolf player and you get it day 1.
Yeah. And
I don't think that happened at 9th.
And barrier entry, for most armies, you need everything. You need most of that
You
army
need
faction.
$500 worth of models to play in your first tournament.
Effectively. Your first
And that's why I
tournament,
think barrier entry actually drops dramatically
You need-
compared to some of the games we're talking about.
Yep.
And then another 100 books.
Agreed.
Because a lot of tabletop games, money is usually not the first thing everyone talks about because money, we understand, this is a hobby,
A luxury hobby.
luxury hobby.
Yeah.
It is, you're already talking, your $500 is normal. But some 40K stuff, depending on your pick, you're talking up to 1,000.
Yeah, and
that
that's
could
also
be
too when
base.
you're new at it. You're not. That would be if you were. I should probably restate. That $500. That's if you're an experienced player who's picking up a new army to take to a tournament and you already know what's good.
Yep.
If you're learning and feeling out an army, you're skyrocketing over $1,000.
And then you're
easily.
also build and paint yourself.
Yes, build and paint yourself is huge. Uh, the way I explain it to people who don't wargame is kind of like, imagine if you were buying a new car and you walked into the showroom and there was a brand new Toyota Camry and it was $28,000, and then the salesman was like, but wait, for $40,000 we could give you all the shit in crates unpainted. You can build it yourself.
That sounds like a great deal.
That's it. That's how we react as wargamers. We're
Yes.
like, wait, all this labor that's been done for me here in every other circumstance, I can do myself and pay more?
So other than buried entry, what's your number?
Huh? 8 bordering on a 9. I gotta say, I like the mechanics. I
So
like it. It's fluid. It's good. There's very few gray areas.
I'm gonna differentiate from the both of you. I think the barrier entry is about a 3. Being with the factions that are currently available that have been updated fully to 9th edition rules, if you're playing Necrons or vanilla Space Marines, you have a plethora of options of starting sets.
Okay.
You also have Combat Patrol, which is more expensive than a collecting kit, but contains everything you need. And since most of the Combat Patrols are Space Marines, if the one for your specific faction doesn't work for you, look at another one. For playability, though, I'm going to drop to a 7. It's better than 8th, but if you actually boil down most of their scenarios for match play in 9th edition, you've got like 3 scenarios. So the game gets flat quickly. You're going to take the same secondaries over and over again, and you're going to end up playing the same mission.
I would
has
counter that by saying that the way you built your army matters.
It does. And that could change as the edition goes on and we get
Yeah.
more when we might get more missions. So,
Yes, I think if secondaries were if there are more secondaries, that
because
could change a lot.
a lot of the secondaries, if you look at it, it's the same thing printed differently. Now, the smaller table size, I'm not a fan of. I stick with a 4x6. Everybody's like,
I
well,
agree.
now melee armies have a chance, and then the melee armies have as much chance as they had before. You can still get shot from across the table
Yeah.
and blown off the table. It makes it
It's
easier.
just about deployment.
Everyone thinks that, and
We can
also
go-
too, shooting armies, now that the heavy rule has changed, shooting armies aren't stationary anymore, so
Yeah.
they
Well,
can kite you.
and also all those mid-range weapons, now they're in range.
Yes.
Yeah, we can go into the. We talked about this quite a while ago, but Bryan and I's Dark Angels versus Harlequins. I brought a pretty close combat, close shooting range army, and it did. I won off objectives, but it was.
Yeah, I shot you to pieces.
Yeah, I was losing stuff left and right. So shooting is still easy.
Okay, so before we jump into 40K, I think it suffice to say, it's a tough hurdle to get over.
Yep.
But it is a full world on the other side
8.
of that rabbit hole.
I would say
It is
8.
a game you could play forever.
I would agree with. I like 8 as a playing. It's
so
still fun. I love playing it. It's.
Yeah, no,
I know we've been going down through a rabbit hole last few episodes talking about other games. But-
I think that if I get a chance to play,
Yeah.
and if I get to play in tournaments, I think I will love it much more.
Yeah.
But
So-
playing against like Sean every time or you every time, it's just a nose grind.
Yeah.
So we have a we have a 1 to 2 for barrier to entry on 40K 9th edition.
With a
and
3.
A 7 to 9 on 7 to 9
Into playing.
and playability, which okay, if you're willing to spend a lot of money, fantastic, and invest your time.
And it's
Where
a
to next, Brian?
massive community that you can bounce stuff off of.
Yes,
Right.
that too.
Out
Right.
there for games, you can find a lot
Yeah,
to
there-
learn about it. So that
There is
you
no
can,
LVO for Star Wars Legion.
you can work your way into that barrier to entry.
Yet. Star Wars Legion is my next one that I was going to go with.
Brian starts off.
So Legion went through a lot of
Growing pains, we'll say.
growing pains this year. More than when the game started, I really liked Legion. I bought everything that came out when the game was released for Galactic Civil War and was super excited. And then I realized the air quotes problem with Legion, which was your army lists were super, super limited because you had to have 3 troop choices and an 800-point list you were playing the same list over and over and over again.
As a droid player, 100%, yes.
Now that, like with the Clone Wars, it's a little bit better, but they're not fixed yet. But the Republic and the Rebels and the Imperials have enough core troop choices and enough support units that the games could. You can very rarely, if you're not playing against the meta, because the meta is a completely different barrel of fish.
Yeah.
You could see a lot of different armies and have a lot of fun. So also the nice thing about Star Wars Legion, every expansion is between $15 and $30, unless you get into the train. The train's a little bit more expensive,
Or the tanks.
and the tanks are a little bit more expensive. But
Yeah, but you can't run a lot of them.
Yep.
Normally it's one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would say barrier to entry for Star Wars Legion for good, on a scale of good, is 8 to 9. My problem with it, keeping it at 8 to 9, is they had a lot of availability problems. Now with them switching over to Asmodee, those availability problems seem to be getting fixed. You're already seeing units that were basically made out of unobtainium that if you didn't get when they were released, you weren't going to see again. They're coming back.
Also, Bryan is currently speaking in store employee speak. That is a vendor issue. You could want something and have $1 million with which to get it and not be able to get it.
Which is true. And the so barrier to entry, I'm gonna give it a 7 to 8, just because those models were so hard to get. Now they're back, it's probably less. And playability, Star Wars Legion is a complicated game. The nice thing about Star Wars Legion is every time they add a new mechanic, they update the whole rule suite, and it's for free. You just go download the PDF and print it out. There's been some changes over the COVID break that has made the game a little bit more complicated and made the game a little bit more simple. I'm gonna give a solid 5. It's not the hardest game It's not a hard game to learn. It's a difficult game to master.
Yeah, I think I'm not going to be too far away from Bryan on this one. I would say barrier to entry. The thing is, I'm going to do a little bit lower than Bryan on barrier to entry. I'm going to give it like a 4, because here's the thing about with Star Wars Legion barrier to entry. If you have a 40k starter set, why 40k barrier to entry is so high for all? If you have a 40k starter set, you can't actually play a game. If you have a Legion starter set, you can.
No.
So then you want to be high.
Yeah. Yeah.
You said 4.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sorry about that. So
I'm going to disagree with you there, Ricky, because you cannot get a full game out of that, because you do not have your 3 core.
Right.
Actually, yeah. I'm sorry, because all right. So I'm a bit backward on this because Sean and I split starter sets. So when we started, we both had 2 starter sets. I withdraw what I previously said. I forgot about that.
I think
you need a starter set and 1 unit,
yes.
1 box.
So the barrier entry, I will keep high with Bryan's. What you said, 7?
7 to 8.
7, 8. I would keep that there because, like Bryan said, buy a box, you buy the starter box, and then you buy another troop or a core, and you're good. You have a active.
Sean, well, there's also.
I love you, but Ricky never got to finish his point.
It's actually good that Sean interrupted me there, though, because I actually have to amend that a little more too.
You a rude, ungrateful friend.
So yeah,
I will edit everything you said out.
Tyranny!
It's literally just gonna be, this entire podcast is just gonna be Sean going on to some long diatribe about something Bryan hates, and Bryan going yes, in the same exact inflection, in the same exact
power of editing.
That's funny because I'm the proofreader and I can just delete everything and make my own anyways.
Also, at the end of the day, we'll go back to the last episode and just ruin what we were talking about. The amount of time I spent to completely edit a large conversation that you two had, only for you to reference it 8 other times in the rest of the podcast, where I had to go back and enter the conversation back in. That's why, listeners, the whole thing about exorcisms and chickens and all that was still left in episode 7 was because these two wouldn't stop referencing it the rest of the episode.
I don't even know what he's talking about.
It was fantastic. It was all
claimed
good.
that Ricky's family taught him how to do exorcisms.
On chickens.
on chicken, like chicken slaughtering and all this other stuff, and then you guys would not drop it the rest of the episode, so it was in there. I literally like I had conversations with Meredith. I was like, these two won't shut up about this continuously. It was like 5 minutes later, one of you would drop, "Yep, but I didn't slaughter that chicken," or "You're Catholic, so you know this," and I'm just like, "Gosh, shut up! I could have this clean. No one needs to know that you guys accuse each other of this." And then, nope, they wouldn't leave it go. So that's why you heard it, Ricky. Tell me about Legion. Go.
Okay, so I'm gonna say it's a solid 7 because there's
Nobody
something
expects
else.
the Spanish Inquisition.
The thing that I actually forgot about, which only came up really in my first game of Legion ever. After that, it cleaned up. Was I did not have enough suppression tokens.
Exactly. That is one thing that I had too.
Bryan had to lend me like 30 suppression tokens in our first game, and it's
Droids. They don't die off that quickly, and I don't have enough suppression tokens as well.
It's
the one token that they don't put that much in the box. And Brian's just like, if you just come to one of our events, we can just give you them.
And then you had to okay, this is going to trigger Sean here, so I'm going to say first that I believe it's a solid 7 in terms of nuance and stuff, because the Jedi add an interesting dimension to it.
Very interesting.
Very interesting dimension.
Except Anakin sucks.
Yeah, fuck him. Sindraling. Are you listening, Fantasy Flight?
Really, you think they're listening to us? Do you not remember the conversation I just had about you guys slaughtering chickens last episode?
Okay, and that's the big fans of that stuff, Fantasy Flight.
Got it.
That's how they try to get.
Arkham Horror.
That's how they try to
flagship products.
That's true.
Sean, chicken entrails is how they predict what they're going to need in stock, which is why everything is always wrong. It's right off of an internal memo. But okay, so I'm going to say that. Yeah, I'll give it that number in playability because I'm about to trigger Sean here, and he's about to go off on a tangent, probably.
Third time in a
The
row.
barrier to entry is also high because you need to sometimes, just with stuff that will come up in your first game, you will need to re-roll the proprietary dice that you do not have enough of.
Oh, I've got so many dice.
Well, now I do too, but you only starter set, you only have like 3 defense dice.
I bought 2 packs and then got another starter set.
Go for droids.
We're here for you, Sean. We're here for you.
Alright, barrier to entry. I'm getting over my proprietary dice. We've heard it before. I'm not going to go into it now. Proprietary dice only suck because if you feel like they're bad and they're not great, you can't go out and buy a custom to yourself. Oh well.
I mean, you can. It's called Etsy.
Yeah, you can go on Etsy, and I'm already doing that for Armada because there's clear ones. They're cool.
Everyone will hate you.
I have issues.
Everyone will hate you if you buy clear dice.
No. They're the same color, but they're translucent.
Okay.
I use clear dice and nobody's ever said a word.
Barrier to entry.
Yours are clear with black dice? Or clear with
Smoked.
black?
Barrier to
Okay,
entry,
so they're not
a
clear.
7.
Yeah.
Okay, guys,
I was
great,
thinking
cool.
the INFD.
I talked through you guys, you talked through me, I got it.
Alright, we're level.
So
we're
barrier
level.
of entry, 26.
Barrier to entry, Sean.
Barrier to entry, 7.
26.
26. Barrier to entry, 7. I think it's still a very easy game to get into because the starter box has 2 core units, plus you only need 1 more box to have another core unit. And like Brian said, the boxes are still only like the $24 to $40 range, depending on what you want. So it's actually pretty cheap to get into a game.
An important thing to remember with Star Wars Legion is, or any Fantasy Flight game, in my experience, pre-order.
Yes. So we
Ricky?
did run into that in the summer because a bunch of stuff were going out, and yes, there's still COVID, so that also affected it. But Fantasy Flight also is known to have stuff.
Yeah,
sell out
unobtainium.
and stay there.
So
I do-
I think we've hit the mediocrity here because that gives us what each. That's a 5 to 7,
Yeah.
Yes.
leading toward the higher end of the spectrum on
The
this one.
only issue why I wouldn't put barrier to entry higher because it is, for most games, that is very quick into it. The only reason why it's not higher is because you have, unless you want both factions, you need to split.
What about gameplay?
gameplay. So I struggled when I started with Legion.
It's super nuanced.
Super nuanced, and it's not,
Not
that
quite infinity.
It is, but
Yeah,
the movement
but-
templates make the movement and shooting templates do clean up a little.
Yes. What I ran into is starting out is that the droid box starting was very under compared to everyone from Rebels and
So-
Imperials already having a ton of stuff.
So, what happened to General Grievous in your first game? Tangent, but it's a
Got wrecked.
By who?
Wrecked. I don't remember the person's name.
a little girl
Yeah.
with a baton,
Yes.
with a baton twirling.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah. Jinners are wrecked General Grievous
Yeah.
and melee combat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of what it came down to is I continuously had feel bads. I had poor games continuously, one after another.
Oh, because you fought an ATST too.
Yeah. in open terrain, because the game doesn't really tell you how much terrain you need.
Yeah, you kind of got to
For
figure
those
that
who
out.
are listening, 40k levels of terrain.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
They sell like 3 barricades with Legion. That
'Cause
is the dumbest thing in the universe.
if you're like
'cause
me-
cover is super important.
Yeah.
If you look,
In elevation.
yes,
Yes.
it all matters.
if you're like me, starting out playing droids, you didn't have any long range stuff. You were stuck,
Yeah.
foot slugging it across the table,
I,
and I was shot off the table every time.
You would get
I
smashed
ripped him
so
apart
hard without
with Rebel Commandos and Rebel Pathfinders. And
With that, roughly a year after Clones, the Clone Wars versus CIS dropped. I would say the playability is up there to 6 or 7.
Yeah,
It's
I'll give
still
you
nuanced, and you still got to understand alternating activations, which is huge.
which is for 40k players is rough.
And doing
Because
a
it's a completely different way of thinking.
and do a bid in with the cards,
Yep.
Yeah, which is
but
important.
it's actually a lot of fun.
Easily graspable though.
Yes,
with the
very
bidding.
easily graspable.
It's
point
it's as far as like gambling systems go, that one's really good.
system. Yeah.
It's a lot of fun.
Lando's gonna make everything difficult.
So next game.
Next game, let's go with AOS.
All right, Ricky, you can take a seat.
No. This is important.
Actually, yeah,
Because
Ricky, go first.
even if he doesn't like the game, understands
I do.
how Games Workshop works.
Let's go, Ricky. You first.
Okay, so I'm not going to have kind things here to say about AOS because I'm going to put its barrier to entry at a 3 because it is, I believe it is it is just as expensive as 40k to get into. However, the rules are slightly easier to grasp. So I'm going to give it a slightly higher on barrier to entry. However, and this might just be me, they know what I'm going to talk about is the random initiative. In terms of playability, I'm only going to give it a 4.
Okay, well, you want to know what? That's a fair assessment.
I'd say that's
I
For-
will say for Sigmar, I'll get to my opinion. I'm going to go right into my opinion. Fuck Sean. Skip the order.
I just want to say one thing.
Way to make
No,
us go
Brian.
counterclockwise now, Brian.
Suck a
Right.
dick, Sean.
I just want to say one thing. For Ricky saying that, that's very fair.
Yeah, it's a very fair opinion. What I'm going to go with is I'm going to rate the barrier of entry about a 5. It's an expensive GW game. That's completely honest. However, there's been so many box sets that have come out that you can split and get a fieldable army, or even you can play a game with the most 90% of the start collectings for Sigmar. Like, you're not going to play a big game. You're not going to play a super nuanced, super interesting game, but you can play a fair game that gives you a basic grasp of the game concepts for a smaller amount of money than it takes for 40k. Gameplay, I'm gonna give a 3 because it's on. When you skim the rules, the game is super simple, and you're like, I fucking got this, no fucking problem. And then you come to the table and you're ready to play, and then your opponent's like, what battle plan are we using? And you're like, what the fuck is a battle plan?
Is that more of a barrier to entry
I guess that's a barrier.
or a play?
It's
And,
a little bit
that's
of
why I
both.
want to throw in your court because
It's a little of both because it's the way you play, it's understanding the scenarios and understanding because of the random initiative. You think this is a joke game, I'm not going to take this seriously. And then you're like, no, I got to think about this random initiative. And how am I going to manipulate it? Do I go first and then risk being double turned? Or do I go second and gamble on getting a double turn? And there's a lot of back and forth that you don't get into until you get into the gameplay. Because when you look at the top, you look at the cream, game's fairly simple. It's almost stupid level simple. And then once you dip below the surface, it's holy fuck, I'm out of my depth.
So I think you guys were expecting me to go both barrier to entry, great, playing, great.
No, I wasn't. I was wanting to...
Barrier to entry, I actually think is 3. I think it is barrier to entry for Age of Sigmar is very low. Yes, they put out great starters that are normally, not all, are better than any 40 thing that 40K puts out.
Agreed.
And I think the battle forces that come out every year are way better.
Bonkers good. For
compared
Sigmars.
To 40K.
Yeah.
Because getting into a game with those, way better. But that's a once a year thing.
Yep.
And only 4 boxes compared to the
limited.
6 from 40K.
Yep.
Why barrier entry is so low is almost every army has some type of swarm aspect to it. You are playing with large amounts of units.
Right, but if you just choose to play a 1,000-point game,
yes.
Which Sigmar is perfectly good at 1,000 points, you don't need as many.
But tournament play, let's say people are out here trying to play tournament.
What are you shooting for tournament level?
2,000.
2,000, not 24?
No, 2,000.
Okay.
2,000 is your base level for, is your standard for a tournament.
Then you're getting into
You're talking into 40K style of knowing what other people's armies do.
Yep.
Because their rules
more so
are more interactive of entirety of the board.
Yep. More so.
There is way more ores. There are way more not ores. Areas of effect.
Yep.
I know they're called ores, but areas of effect plus the magic level in the game completely changes compared to what the psychic phase is in 40K.
Well, even army to army.
Yes.
The other thing is 9th edition is a little bit of Hero Hammer. 8th edition was Hero Hammer. AOS, your army is built on the characters you bring. Yes. If you don't take the right characters or you don't take the right synergies, you're going to have a bad time.
And I'm not saying that any of us in our area, because it's not played that much, are any experts. There are way better YouTubers out there that know how in-depth AOS can get.
Yeah, the
barrier to entry is low, and it's also, I don't think there's any army that's less than $600 or more.
Slaves to Darkness.
I don't know.
And a Lumineth.
At the moment.
True.
I think
So
Age of Sigmar.
That seems like more of a line limitation than an actual...
Well, no, Lumineth is a very well-developed line. Slaves to Darkness less so because they focus so much more on... So it used to be everything was Chaos Undivided, and then you had your Plague Marine special unit. Now they've really focused on the other gods and not so much on the Undivided.
So play style, I think play for me is up there with I hate to keep putting stuff at the same number. I want to say in between 6 and 7.
Okay.
Age of Sigmar is one of my favorite game, right? My favorite tabletop game, and A Song of Ice and Fire and Armada are really starting to spike up there and try and fight for that number 1 spot. But the only reason why Age of Sigmar is my top is because I love the fantasy emblem of the game. I like the aesthetic. That's it. If I didn't have the aesthetic in there, I feel like my number of play would be a lot lower because there is so much nuance.
Okay.
You cannot step into Age of Sigmar.
I'll give you that.
You have to dive.
And then if I listed other games, I'm sorry, but we're going to go with what I remember as being our last choice. And the rest of you can...
Infinity.
There's Infinity, Armada, and...
We talked about
Song of Ice and
Fire. We talked about, so
Infinity. Oh,
jeez. Infinity...
This will be a quick one.
Yeah.
Infinity's a low barrier to entry. Even if you have to buy everything, you're only out $300 at the most. You own multiple armies.
No, I'm talking one army. I've priced the entire model range out, and it's not 300.
Oh,
I
well.
think
It's no 40K in terms of expenses. In terms of the expense of buying the game, it's not 40K. We'll
Yeah.
just say that.
But the
No.
rules, that's the most difficult, convoluted rule system I've ever played. When you play it, it runs well, but you need to understand before you
every
day.
rule,
Yep.
every rule, every keyword.
There's nothing you can slip.
Barrier to
by.
entry is so high in this game.
Yeah, but it's for different reasons than 40K.
Yes.
The-
and Sigmar.
Playing the game is rewarding and
So
fun.
much fun.
Yeah, it's so reactive, and you're so tuned into the other person you're playing with that I love playing Infinity. I don't like learning Infinity or list building for Infinity. But when I sit down on a table and I've got everything down, the tables are beautiful, playing with somebody else, as long as they're not a dick bag, is great.
I have numbers for it.
Go
I would
for
say barrier to entry 3 similar to Sigmar, but for different reasons. Very
Yep.
different reasons.
Very different reasons.
However, in terms of gameplay, I would give Infinity an 8.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with
Even
Ricky
in
on
my
that one.
limited experience, Infinity is so. Once you're actually to the table,
Barrier to entry is
When you've gotten to the table.
Yeah. Barrier
Yeah.
entry is a 4 to me. And if you are playing in a game store, it's a 4. If you are playing with a group of friends at your house, and it's just going to be like the guys net out every time they come over, it's going to drop to a 2.
Yeah. Yep.
Because of the amount of, like, in between 4 people, if only one house is going to have a terrain, then it's a little bit, it can go back up to a 4. Terrain heavy is so hard to do. Because MDF, like a full MDF table, you're talking over $100. And that's not, we're not talking about how much a mat is.
Yeah.
We're going to say most gamers probably might have a mat at their place, or at least a just kitchen table to play. You could tape off what you need to play for zones. It's 4x4, that's easy. Terrain heavy, or the game is completely different. It's not the
Yeah.
game of Infinity.
yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to agree with Ricky on his, but I don't disagree with yours.
Playstyle, I think it's, like you said, super rewarding. I would put it up there in the 7s.
All right.
So it's still a very, very solid game for an advanced war gamer, I'd say.
I
it's
think
not something you toe in on.
you start with something else, you really like games, and then you take it to the next notch.
And that's Infinity.
Yeah.
All right. And then for the last game, which I believe is going to be our sweetheart for 2020,
I think so.
Song of Ice and Fire.
We only started playing towards like the very end,
Yes, we only
3
have
weeks.
but let's write our love note right here.
I gotta say, in terms of barrier to entry, this is the best. It is the lowest barrier to entry. I want to say barrier to entry because I don't see anyone doing barrier to entry better. This is almost like buying a chess set and being able to play chess.
I
Pretty
hate
much.
to give something a 10 when it's a 10.
But it's a 10.
Yeah, it's a 10.
barrier to entry, it's a 10.
100%.
It uses 2D terrain, which I'm not thrilled with 2D terrain, but if it comes in the effing box, along
It's
with the
there.
only measuring stick you need,
Yep.
you know, everything you buy. If you buy a starter kit, unpack the starter kit. The models are already built.
And they'll
They're-
fit
oh,
in
that's
the
another
box.
thing too. Every other game we mentioned, with the exception of Armada, has building and painting.
Also, what Sean just said, you've got your storage in the box.
Yeah, it's your carrying case. You're ready to play right then and there.
Obviously, extra units, you
Full-
need to figure out how you're going to store it, but
But full rule set and everything. It's in terms of barrier to entry. You can play this the day you buy it. Well,
we didn't... Sorry to cut you off, Rick.
24 pages, 26 pages in the rulebook.
Yeah, and that includes all your scenarios.
And,
Extensive. There's very little gray area.
Yeah, and we didn't really talk about apps because pretty much all of these games have an app that goes with it. If it's not, Battlescribe's probably got it.
Yeah, backstop with
But-
backstrap.
A bunch of these companies do their full rules updates. The company for this has a great app for it. We're not going to use that too much on it, but it makes it very easy as well for your updated rules. Just being able to go into a game store. Ricky buys a box. I buy a box. We go downstairs. Now, this is not 2020 talk, but we go downstairs. We can start playing that game right away.
Yes.
Models are on the table. Dice. Every dice you need is in the box. Every token you need in the box. You can play it. And once you're on the table playing, you have not only a regular tabletop war game, you're going to start interacting with a deck of cards and the tactics board, which is really what sells the game. That play value is so high because it doesn't always feel like you're just playing one game. The first few games are fun, learning the deck, learning playing with your deck, that whole trap card experience of Yu-Gi-Oh, the whole reference that Ricky and Bryan had for their first game.
Yep. It's so normally when you sit down and you play a war game, you've got your objectives, and you know what you're gonna do, and that's how you play. And like 40K touched on it a little bit. It's like, haha, here's my stratagem, but you had to pay for the stratagem.
Yeah, and your opponent knows all the stratagems you have.
Yeah, in Song of Ice and Fire, it's a random draw, and if you've built your tactics deck correctly, you're not Baratheon. You've got good shit.
Also, let's take it a step further. The game comes with unit cards. So, gone are the days with this game that are like where you have a giant book that comes with it. Or you have to buy a separate book to have all your rules because you don't have it memorized yet. You have a little card that goes on the side of the board that you have your unit stats, and it's right there.
It's also right there in the app. Same kind of form factor for the information. So if you're going back and forth between the two, there is almost no difference.
And
that's super important.
How about that the starters come with roughly 30 points, which is only 10 under the max limit for the game.
That's the main limit for the game.
Main limit, not max.
You can go much higher.
So your standard is 40 points. There are rules to go higher.
So that would get complicated. I'd be willing to try it. If
you just add more terrain and make the table bigger. You go to the 4x6 and more terrain.
Yeah,
I feel like
Ryan and I played a 60-point game.
If you ended up right with in a large scale engagement, but I win on the left and you win on the right, then we each have 2 units left who don't have enough time to reach each other.
Yeah, I think four player was like 2v2 would still be on a 4x4 with 80 point full list.
I would still go on a 4x6. You just end up fighting the battles in different parts of the board. It makes it more realistic. Because rarely is ever a battle just like, this one stand of trees.
Yeah. Okay, so we're talking about playability. You've heard us gush over it the last 2 episodes. It is a great game. It's got pretty much everything you want in a tabletop game.
It's maintained by the company, actively maintained. They look at things, they edit, they fix things, they fix data sheets, they release new units. They're involved in the gameplay portion of the game, which is huge. Not all the companies are.
Like a certain company that will not go mention that used to claim it was a model company and you could use their models to play a game.
Yep. Yeah, they really go out of their way to give you the best experience you possibly can.
And then it's also a rank and flank game, so everything's on trays. You're not buying the trays separate.
Yep, the trays come with it.
Trays come with it. And for a new player, like if a brand new player's picking up a tabletop game, movement trays are going to be easier than individual models.
Now,
there's nuance to it.
There's nuance to it. I don't want to say it's Hero Hammer, but your characters do make a very big difference in the way you play the game. It's not a character who's going to win you a game, or it's unlikely that a character is going to win you a game.
But
they affect it in the way of their cards, not on the battlefield.
Yeah.
You are not putting down... I'm not putting down Gilliman that is going to come across the table and cut down something.
Abaddon, Gilliman, Azrael,
Silent King.
The thing is, when you're in the realm of wargaming, though, is there a game in which the characters are less significant than this? And I don't think there is.
No, because Legion, they're so swingy.
Yeah. I mean, a Jedi in Argot when we played my first game, Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah, wrecked.
It's just him being there made an entire difference. A Smash Captain in 40K, all the difference.
Azrael.
Huh?
Azrael.
Azrael. He linchpins for the entire, most of the 8th edition, prior to the new Codex stuff being released. Azrael linchpinned your entire
Mortarion.
Mortarion.
Yeah. Mortarion at the beginning of 8th.
Typhus.
Typhus is a little less so, but
Yeah, we already talked about in Sigmar that your characters basically are your army.
Yep.
So I would have to push back against the Hero Hammer thing with the fact that the characters
Infinity.
are significant, but compared to what?
you have a faction that your heroes aren't always needed to take.
True.
I will say that because there are ones that just dropped for, yes, it's less so a named character because it's just based on models, but a lot of the named characters are pretty good.
Okay.
I think the less so of like the dynamics of how 40k is and Age of Sigmar, but yes, I'd agree. A Song of Ice and Fire is still a top. If you take a bad commander, it's really not the end of the world if you can play everything else out.
Yeah, well, and if you have a good tactics deck, like if you have core faction tactics on their own are good, it doesn't matter. Again, I'm going to complain because While We Stand, While We Fight, and Stag's Wit are not the greatest cards. Ours is the Fury. Is phenomenal. And Baratheon really gets their tactics from their commanders. But yeah,
I think that might be uniquely Baratheon, probably.
oh, I believe it is.
Because I think they're the only one that splits Stannis Renly like that.
And it's not really a problem. It's just it is a problem when you take Davos as your commander, Davos Seaworth, and have to drop ours is the Fury. You just don't get it anymore. And then you're like, oh, you've made us lose our single greatest generic tactic.
But you get flea bottom tricks.
Which is really good. When that unit of, new Stag Knights just comes walking across the table because they got a free move before they activated, and then they got to add an extra inch to their movement, it's going to be a bad day on turn 2.
And then they successfully charge.
Yup.
Yeah. So, I think you've heard it. Gameplay, I guess 9. If we don't want to be those people who do 10 out of 10.
Oh, it's 10 out of 10.
Okay,
It's
10 out of 10.
park.
Barrier to entry.
That is from a Warhammer Fantasy player.
Yeah, this is better than Warhammer Fantasy. I enjoy it more.
Barrier to entry is still. I don't think barrier to entry will ever be 10 out of 10.
No,
it's
this
not
is
a
like
board
an 8.
game. You're not buying it and that's it.
It's like an 8.
But
Yeah.
it's up there. It's at the best it can be for a tabletop game. I'll say that.
I'll give you that. 100%.
So we have it at basically a 9 and a 9 to 10 out of 10 in both categories. It is the darling of 2020.
At least for us.
And we are always right.
We are what matters.
Yes.
This is the way.
This is the way.
Yes. It's only if you read the comments section that other people's opinions come up.
We would have to have a comment first.
Huh?
Leave a comment. Let us know your opinion.
If you disagree, comment. Let us know.
I'll
What?
answer your comments.
Bryan specifically, no.
I'll at least read them.
Bryan cares. A heart the size of a walrus.
All right.
All right, so
Ricky. Oh, do you want to do it?
no,
We have a few weeks, right?
yeah, we've
We're
got a
going
few
to take
weeks,
a
so-
break. We're probably going to be on and off with
So
content.
I was gonna say we're not gonna make any hobby promises.
Ooh.
We're not, because we don't know where we're gonna be or what's going on.
That's fair.
Coming into the busiest 2 weeks of the year, we will be back in January with season 2. Don't know what we're starting with, what we're going with, but it'll be interesting. We'll probably still be, singing the praises, singing the praises of Song of Ice and Fire, because we don't cool down easily.
No. Even with a 1,000-foot wall of ice.
Secrets. But
Oops,
what?
wrong chat.
But what we are gonna do is, for our listeners, watch. I am gonna ask you to watch our Instagram because there's definitely going to be a giveaway going up over the holiday break while we're a little quiet. We've got some really sweet custom dice. We'll be giving away a 20 set of our custom dice to one lucky winner, and the details will be on our Instagram. and this won't be going up until this episode is posted. So, you know, no surprises there. So, from Sean and Ricky, we hope you guys have a good holiday.
Yeah.
I don't care. You all can.
We honestly do hope that.
Yes. Have a good holiday, and we'll see you in 2021.
See you in 2021.
If that meteor doesn't happen.
Alright, guys, thank you for joining us for another episode of Wargaming After Dark. I ask you to, if you enjoy the content, to check out our Instagram. We have a Facebook page and a Patreon. It's all listed under Wargaming After Dark. And I hope you have a great day.